Help me, I said to Rune. You all keep offering to be spent. Stop. I don't need any of you to be the sacrifice. I need the holder to help me figure out how to open my hand without dropping anything. 4 Crowns. Episode 11, The Holder. Written by Mia. The nights bled down toward the full moon the way water leaves a cracked basin. Not fast enough to see, but you check in the morning and there's less of it. Always less, and no way to put any back. 19 became 15, became 12. And in the high tower, 5 people who had finally, impossibly, found each other learned what it does to a household to know that one of them has to go, and that the choosing is a knife handed to the one person who has spent her whole life being cut. I stopped sleeping properly. Not from the politics. I'd lived under threats before. The city's wanting had always had knives. It was the math that kept me up, the obscene arithmetic the Lady of Shadow had built. For men, 1 cut, my own free hand on the blade. I'd lie in the dark with all 4 threads humming around me, shadow and flame and tide and iron, for men breathing in 4 rooms, for pieces of one drowned thing trying gently to come home through me. And I'd try to do the sum the council wanted, which one do you love least, and the sum would not run, because it was not a real question. It was like being asked which of your own 4 limbs you'd saw off to be allowed to keep walking. The answer isn't a limb. The answer is, you've misunderstood what a body is. But the council had not misunderstood. The council knew exactly what it had done. It had found the one demand that turned my own heart into the weapon against me. I kept thinking about the binding, the night the rite first took, when all 5 of us had fought it. Sable folding himself smaller, Bram snarling, Cass making it a joke, Rune going still, me certain I'd never let force strangers matter. We had been so sure, then, that the bond was the trap. Not one of us had understood that the bond would become the only home any of the 5 of us had ever had, and that the real trap was always going to be the day someone clever enough worked out that the surest way to break a person who has finally found a family is not to threaten the family. It is to make her dismantle it herself, with her own hands, and call it the responsible thing. They came to me one at a time, over those days, each in his own way, each to offer me the same unbearable mercy. Let it be me. Bram came first, because Bram cannot sit with a thing. He is to pick it up and break it. He found me on the training floor, and didn't bother working up to it. It's me, he said, all that iron shape vibrating with the effort of holding still. You cut me. I'm the one. Iron's the youngest house. I've got the least to lose. And I'd rather you set me back to a life of breaking things for a house I hate than watch you stand in front of all 4 of us at the full moon and try to pick. Don't pick. Just send me first. Take the choice away. Please, Keystone. And the great feral loyal heart of him, the one who'd finally let himself be the one who got to stay, was standing in front of me volunteering to be thrown away again because he loved me more than he loved staying, and I had to walk out of the room before I broke something myself. Cass came next and cast it at the Cass way, through jokes, until the jokes ran out. Obviously it's me, he said, lounging like it cost him nothing, the bright, terrible grin. I'm the spare. Ava, I've got references. 26 years of professional experience, being the one a house decides it doesn't need. Why retrain somebody when I'm already certified? And then his voice cracked clean through the performance, the way it does, and the real thing underneath came up raw. You spent a god to keep me. Let me give it back. Let me be worth something by being the one who goes, so the other 3... And he stopped because even Cass couldn't finish a joke that cruel, and I held him, the boy his father had taught to volunteer for the discard pile, and I told him no, and he didn't believe the no, the way he never quite believes a no, and that was the worst part of all. Even Sable, cold, exact Sable, who finds the price of everything, he laid it out like a clean equation over the council maps, not because he wanted to go, but because he'd run the numbers and arrived at himself. Strategically, it's me, he said quietly. I'm the most expendable of the four. Shadows already exposed. My mother's already turned the house against you. My political value to you is negative now. I'm a liability with every faction. If you have to release one, the correct one to release is the one whose house is already lost to us. That's me. I've checked it from every angle. It's me. And I looked at the man who'd held my hand in the council so the world wouldn't end, offering me his own severance in the language of cost because it was the only language he trusted to be believed, and I understood that all three of them had done the same thing in different accents. I love you, so spend me. I'm used to being the one who's spent. For men the world had taught they were expendable, and a council that had just weaponized exactly that. That was the part that lit a slow, cold fury in me under the grief, because I knew that lesson from the inside, the one each of them had been taught in his own house. That love is conditional, that you stay only as long as you're useful, that the moment you become a cost instead of an asset you get returned. Bram learned it from a house that sends its best son first into every fight. Cass learned it across a lifetime of being called the spare. Sable learned it at the knee of a mother who carved the softness out of him on purpose. And I had learned it 11 times over in 11 houses with my bag already packed by the door. 5 people raised by 5 different cruelties to believe the very same lie, that they were keepable only on terms. And the council had looked at the one place all 5 of us were softest and pressed its thumb straight into it. Rune didn't offer like the others. Rune never does anything like the others. He found me at the curing pools below the Tide District, the still deep water where he goes to be most himself, and he didn't make a speech or a joke or a calculation. He just sat down beside me at the edge of the black water, close enough that the tide thread between us went warm and slow, and for a long while he said nothing at all, which is its own language with Rune, the holder, the one who anchors without ever being asked. You're going to tell me it should be you? I said, when I couldn't bear the quiet. No, he said. I'm going to tell you why it can be me, and then I'm going to let you decide, because I won't take the deciding from you the way they're trying to. That's the council's cruelty, not mine. He looked at the water. A holder. Ava, that's what Tide makes. That's what I am. A holder isn't the one who grips hardest. Everyone thinks that. They think holding is strength. A fist, never letting go. It isn't. The sea taught my house the truth 300 years ago. You hold a thing by knowing exactly when to open your hand. Grip a drowning person too hard, and you both go down. Hold water in a fist, and you have nothing. Cup it open, and it stays. I've spent my whole life learning the one skill the other 3 never will. How to let go of a thing at the exact moment that letting go is how you save it. His quiet eyes found mine. So, if one of us has to be released, it should be the one who actually knows how to be released without it becoming a wound. They'll all volunteer. Only one of us is telling the truth about being able to survive it. That's not a sacrifice, Ava. It's just the holder doing the one thing he's for. And the terrible calm of him, the deep water certainty, was so much worse than Bram's fury or Cass's cracking jokes or Sable's cold arithmetic, because Rune wasn't offering to be thrown away. He was offering to leave well, on purpose, with grace, and to make it easy for me, which is the most Rune thing in the world, and the thing I could not stand. I kissed him. I shouldn't have. I felt the bond lurch the second I did, all 4 threads leaning toward home, the four-colored light prickling at the edge of the dark water. But I did it anyway, because I could not let the holder talk about his own going so gently, and I needed him to feel, just once, the size of what he was offering to let go. He kissed me back like deep water, slow and total and unhurried, his hand coming up to cradle the back of my head the way he cradles everything, carefully, like it might break, and for a moment the tide thread went so bright between us that I had to wrench the reunion back from the edge by main force, gasping against his mouth, holding the apocalypse and the holder at the same time. And Rune, who feels everything in the deep way, pulled back just enough to rest his forehead against mine and said, very softly, "You see, even this, even loving me edges the world toward ending now. They're not wrong that it's dangerous, Ava. They're only wrong about the cure." His thumb moved along my jaw. The cure isn't cutting one of us out. The cure is you learning you don't have to hold the whole ocean in a fist. But the council won't wait for you to learn it. So let me be the one who opens his hand before they force yours. No, I said, against his mouth, fierce, certain, the first fully certain thing I'd felt since the convening. No, I'm not cutting you. I'm not cutting any of you. Not Bram, not Cass, not Sable, not you. I've been handed back 11 times by people who decided I was the one they could live without, and I will die before I do it to someone I love. So here is what's going to happen instead. I pulled back so he could see I meant it. I'm going to break their math. The council gave me a choice between losing one of you and losing all of you. I refuse the choice. There's a third thing, and I'm going to find it even if it doesn't exist yet, even if I have to make it, because every single person who ever handed me back told themselves there were only two options to keep the difficult thing or give it up, and not one of them was brave enough to imagine a third. I'm braver than all of them. I have to be. I'm the catalyst. Refusing the cage is the whole job. I had spent my whole life being handed the same two bad options and being told those were the only two. Be good or be gone. Be useful or be returned. Be quiet or be a problem. And the one power nobody had ever managed to take from me, the one that had kept me alive through 11 houses, was the flat refusal to believe the menu was complete. There's always a third thing. It is just usually hidden and dangerous, and nobody around you has the nerve to reach for it, because reaching for the option no one is offering is how you get called difficult. I have been called difficult my entire life. I realized, possibly the only person in all of Vaymore temperamentally built for exactly this. A city that had been choosing between two bad options for 300 years, and a catalyst who had never once in her life accepted that there were only two. Rune looked at me for a long moment with something moving in the deep water of his eyes that I'd never seen there before. Not his usual stillness, but something almost like grief, and almost like awe, and almost like a man saying goodbye while letting you believe he isn't. "You'd really burn the right down," he said softly, "before you'd let go of any of us." "I'd remake it," I said. The keeper said the founders left me a door at the back of a cage. A door isn't for keeping things in. I'm going to find out what it opens. Out in the city, the deadline pressure was building. Flames Lord stirring from hiding, the Lady of Shadows faction whispering, the whole of Vaymore counting the same nights I was, waiting to see whether the catalyst would cut herself down to safe. And I felt, for the first time since the white light, something that wasn't fear. A plan. A refusal with a direction in it. "Help me," I said to Rune. "You all keep offering to be spent. Stop. I don't need any of you to be the sacrifice. I need the holder to help me figure out how to open my hand without dropping anything. That's the real problem, isn't it? That's the thing only Tide knows." And Rune said, yes. And he smiled, the rare deep one. And I let myself believe, for one whole night, that I'd talked him out of it. I woke before dawn because the tide thread had gone quiet. Not cut, quiet. Thinning. The warm, deep blue of it. The one that had been steady at my back since the binding. The holder always there, always anchored. It was going slack in my chest the way water goes slack at the turn of the tide. Gentle and certain and almost peaceful. A thing deciding to recede. I sat up in the dark with my heart slamming and reached down the thread for him and found him already moving away from me, deliberately, calmly, the way deep water pulls back from a shore, and underneath the receding I felt the thing he'd hidden under the smile and the yes and the whole patient night, that the holder had decided, long before I kissed him, exactly how this would end. That he had let me believe I'd won the argument, so I'd sleep, so I wouldn't stop him, so the choice would never have to be mine, because a holder holds by knowing when to open his hand, and Rune had decided the thing he was going to save, by letting go, was me. He was already gone from the tower. He was going to his house tied to release himself willingly, to close the bond clean, to spare me the blade and spare the others the loss of any of the three I'd have to weigh against him, to make himself, quietly, in the deep water dark, the one I didn't have to choose. And the tide thread was thinning fast, and once a holder opens his hand all the way, the sea does not give the water back. To be continued. That was episode 11 of 4 Crowns. If the 4 of them have you now, the next episode is already waiting. Subscribe so you don't miss it. The complete book is on Amazon, and early episodes plus bonus scenes are on my Patreon. Links are in the description.
I've Mia.
Thank you for listening.